My name is Tommy Grimes. I'm 31 years old, and I'm about to show you what happens when the family scapegoat becomes untouchable. I'm standing in my $10 million Malibu villa right now, watching the Pacific Ocean crash against cliffs that belong to me. The marble floors beneath my feet cost more than most people's houses. But 18 months ago, when I told my family I was moving to California, my stepmother Mary literally said, "That's nice, honey. Can you pick up groceries on your way out?" Let me paint you a picture of that day. I had just landed the biggest opportunity of my career. Senior data architect at Cloud Vault Technologies, six-figure salary jump, stock options, a chance to build something revolutionary in cybersecurity. I was practically vibrating with excitement when I called the family group chat. "Guys, I got the job. I'm moving to California next week." Radio silence for 3 hours. Then Mary finally responded, "Okay, sweetie, don't forget Sunday dinner is at 5. Can you bring dessert?" My stepsister Lee chimed in. "Wait, who's going to help me move my stuff to my new apartment?" My stepfather Christopher added, "Tommy, before you go, can you look at my computer? It's making that noise again." Not one congratulations, not one question about my new life, just a grocery list and tech support requests. I remember standing in my cramped studio apartment staring at my phone, feeling something crack inside my chest. 28 years old, and I was still just the family's unpaid assistant, the reliable one, the one who showed up, shut up, and cleaned up everyone else's messes. But here's what they didn't know about their quiet, accommodating Tommy. I'm a data architect. I build systems. I create structures that can't be hacked, can't be broken, and can't be manipulated. And for the past 18 months, while they forgot I existed, I've been building the most sophisticated protection system of my life. This villa isn't just a house, it's a fortress. Every square foot is wrapped in legal structures they can't touch, can't claim, and can't even understand. The trust documents alone would make their heads spin. They ignored me when I was struggling. They dismissed me when I was succeeding. But yesterday, one photo changed everything. My college roommate Celesta posted a picture from my housewarming party, just a casual shot of us laughing on my infinity pool deck, the Malibu coastline stretching behind us like a movie set. Within hours, that photo had traveled back to my hometown faster than wildfire. Suddenly, after 18 months of complete silence, my phone started buzzing. Mary's calling. Lee's texting. Christopher's leaving voicemails dripping with fake concern and obvious agenda. They want to visit. They want to reconnect. They want to discuss family investments and shared opportunities. What they don't know is that I've been preparing for this moment since the day they let me walk away without a backward glance. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, you'll understand what comes next. And if this story moves you, please share it and subscribe. Because what happens when they show up at my door will shock you. To understand why I built an impenetrable fortress, you need to see what I was running from. For 8 years, every Sunday was the same ritual. I'd drive 45 minutes to Mary and Christopher's house, arms loaded with groceries I'd paid for, to cook dinner for a family that treated me like hired help. The system was elegant in its cruelty. I was the one with the stable job, the good credit, the reliable car. So naturally, I became the family's unpaid caterer, cleaner, tech support, and ATM. Mary would text me shopping lists on Friday. "Can you grab everything for Sunday? You know how tight things are right now." Tight for them, maybe. I was spending $300 every weekend on groceries, plus gas, plus my time. But I was so good with money and so organized, and family helps family, right? The dinner table hierarchy was crystal clear. Christopher sat at the head, holding court about his latest get-rich-quick scheme. Mary played hostess, accepting compliments on food I'd cooked. Lee, my 24-year-old stepsister, would live-stream herself eating, building her influencer brand while I washed dishes. And me? I was the ghost who made it all happen. The breaking point came last spring. I'd just gotten the promotion of my lifetime. senior data architect with a $40,000 raise. I was bursting to share the news. I'd worked 60-hour weeks for 6 months, earned 3 new certifications, and beaten out candidates with twice my experience. I walked into Sunday dinner practically glowing. Guys, I have incredible news. I got promoted to senior architect, $40,000 raise. Mary looked up from her phone for exactly 2 seconds. That's wonderful, dear. Now, about Lee's camera equipment. Lee didn't even pause her TikTok recording. Christopher nodded absently and went back to his football game. But when Lee announced she'd enrolled in community college for digital marketing, the whole family erupted in celebration. Champagne appeared. Photos were taken. Mary posted on Facebook about her brilliant daughter taking charge of her future. I stood there holding a dish towel, watching them toast Lee's part-time enrollment while my career milestone evaporated into background noise. That's when Mary delivered the knockout punch. "Tommy, you're so good with money. Lee needs professional equipment to really make her mark. Just this once, can you help her get started? Family helps family." The equipment list was breathtaking. $5,000 camera, $3,000 lighting setup, $2,000 editing software, professional microphones, tripods, ring lights. Total cost $12,000. For context, this was the same family that had never once offered to split the Sunday grocery bill. "I just told you I got a $40,000 raise," I said quietly. "Exactly," Mary beamed. "You can afford to invest in Lee's future. Think of it as a loan." A loan. Like the $2,000 I'd loaned Christopher for his car repair that was never repaid. Like the $1,500 for Mary's emergency dental work. Like the $3,000 for Lee's security deposit on an apartment she'd moved out of after 2 months. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. The numbers were devastating. $47,000 in family loans over 3 years. Not one penny repaid. "I need to think about it," I said. Mary's smile turned sharp. "What's to think about? You make good money now. Lee is family." That night, I went home and did what I do best. I analyzed the data. 8 years of receipts, bank statements, text message screenshots. The pattern was undeniable. Every achievement of mine was minimized. Every need of theirs became my emergency. I'd sent Mary a text about my promotion 3 days earlier. She'd read it and never responded. But Lee's equipment list? That got an immediate phone call and a family meeting. I was the competent child, trapped in a system that weaponized my reliability against me. They knew I'd show up. They knew I'd pay up. They knew I'd shut up. But as I stared at those bank statements, something crystallized. I wasn't their daughter or sister. I was their resource. And resources, I realized, could be relocated. The next morning, I started planning my escape. The Cloud Vault Technologies offer came 3 weeks after my banking app revelation. Senior data architect position, $180,000 base salary, stock options, relocation package, and 3,000 miles between me and Sunday dinner obligations. I didn't hesitate. I accepted immediately. But I knew announcing my departure required strategy. These people had spent 8 years conditioning me to be their reliable resource. They wouldn't let me go without a fight. I chose a Tuesday evening, deliberately avoiding Sunday dinner drama. I sent a simple message to the family group chat. I got a job offer in California, senior architect position at Cloud Vault Technologies. "I'm moving next week." The response was immediate and telling. Mary called within minutes, not to congratulate me, not to ask about my new role. Her first words were, "What about Sunday dinners?" "You'll figure it out," I said. "But who's going to cook? Who's going to handle the groceries?" "The same people who ate the food, I imagine." Christopher jumped on the call. "Tommy, this seems sudden. Are you sure this is the right move? Your family is here." "My family," I repeated slowly, "hasn't asked a single question about this opportunity." Lee's text came next. "Wait, who's going to help me with my equipment fund?" There it was. The truth laid bare. Not "we'll miss you" or "congratulations on your success." just panic about losing their ATM. Mary's tone shifted to manipulation mode. Tommy, you can't just abandon your family. We depend on you. You depend on my wallet, I replied. There's a difference. That's not fair. We love you. Love doesn't send grocery lists every Friday. Love doesn't ignore promotions and celebrate community college enrollment. Love doesn't turn every conversation into a funding request. The silence stretched for 10 seconds. Then Mary played her final card. If you leave like this, don't expect us to be here when you come crawling back. I won't be coming back, I said, and hung up. The next week was a masterclass in revealing true colors. As I packed my studio apartment, the family bombardment began. Not emotional appeals about missing me, financial panic. Christopher, what about the loan for my truck repair? Mary, you promised to help with Leahy's equipment. Lee, I already told my followers about my new setup. I screenshotted every message. The pattern was crystal clear. They weren't losing a daughter or sister, they were losing a bank. My response was surgical. I sent one final group message. Effective immediately, I'm discontinuing all financial support. Outstanding loans totaling $47,000 are forgiven as my farewell gift. Don't contact me about money again. Then I blocked their numbers. The moving truck arrived on a Thursday. I loaded my essentials, clothes, laptop, a few books. Everything else stayed behind. I wasn't just changing addresses. I was shedding an entire identity. As I drove away from that cramped studio apartment, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Freedom. No Sunday obligations, no grocery lists, no emergency funding requests. Just me, my skills, and a future I could build on my own terms. The family's final emails arrived over the next month. The progression was predictable. Anger, bargaining, threats, then silence. They'd moved on to their next resource, probably some other relative who hadn't learned to say no yet. But what they didn't know was that my new job wasn't just a career move. It was the first step in building something they could never touch. California didn't just change my address, it transformed my entire existence. Within 6 months at Cloud Vault Technologies, I'd revolutionized their data security protocols and caught the attention of the executive team. My systems prevented 3 major breach attempts, saving the company millions in potential damages. The promotion to VP of Data Security came with a salary jump to $320,000, plus stock options that vested at astronomical rates. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just financially stable, I was wealthy. But more importantly, I was invisible to my family. No Sunday dinner obligations, no grocery lists, no emergency funding requests, just blessed, beautiful silence. That's when I met Adrian Scott at a cybersecurity conference in San Francisco. He was presenting on blockchain security while I was demonstrating AI threat detection. We ended up debating encryption methods over coffee that stretched into dinner, then breakfast the next morning. Adrian was everything my family wasn't: curious about my work, impressed by my achievements, supportive of my ambitions. When I told him about my background, he was horrified. "They treated you like an ATM for 8 years?" he asked, incredulous. "More like a combination ATM maid and tech support," I corrected. "And they never once celebrated your success?" "They celebrated Lee's community college enrollment while ignoring my $40,000 promotion." Adrian shook his head. "That's not family. That's exploitation." 6 months into our relationship, I made the decision that would define everything. I was buying a house. Not just any house, a statement. A $10 million villa in Malibu with panoramic ocean views, infinity pool, and enough space to host the life I was building. But I wasn't buying it as Tommy Grimes, vulnerable daughter and sister. I was buying it as the beneficiary of an irrevocable trust, wrapped in legal structures that would make it untouchable. Adrian watched me work with the estate planning attorneys, fascinated and slightly concerned. "Why put the house in a trust?" he asked. "It's just family." "You don't know my family," I replied, reviewing trust documents. "This isn't just protection, It's warfare preparation. The trust structure was beautiful in its complexity. The villa belonged to the Grimes Family Protection Trust, with me as the sole beneficiary and a team of attorneys as trustees. Even if my family discovered the property's existence, they couldn't touch it, claim it, or force me to sell it. The legal barriers were insurmountable. I also systematically erased my digital footprint from their world, blocked phone numbers, deleted social media connections, changed my address with every institution. I became a ghost in their lives, just as they'd made me feel like a ghost in mine. The villa became my sanctuary. Every morning, I'd drink coffee on the deck, watching dolphins play in the surf while I reviewed security protocols for Fortune 500 companies. Every evening, Adrian and I would cook dinner together. Actually together, not me cooking, while someone else took credit. I built a life of genuine relationships, colleagues who valued my expertise, friends who celebrated my achievements, a partner who saw me as an equal, not a resource. For 18 months, I lived in perfect peace. No family drama, no financial manipulation, no Sunday obligations. I'd successfully extracted myself from their toxic system and built something they couldn't contaminate. My new friends knew nothing about my family history. To them, I was simply Tommy. Successful, confident, accomplished. I never mentioned the years of exploitation or the $47,000 in unpaid loans. That version of me was dead and buried. I thought I'd won. I thought the silence meant they'd moved on, found other resources, forgotten about their former ATM. I was wrong. Then Celesta Wick, my old college roommate, posted one innocent photo that changed everything. Drop a comment if you think Tommy went too far, or if you think she didn't go far enough, because what happens next will test everything. The photo was innocent enough. Celesta had flown out for my housewarming party, and we were laughing on my infinity pool deck, champagne glasses raised against the Malibu sunset. The Pacific Ocean stretched endlessly behind us, my villa's modern architecture gleaming in golden hour light. She posted it to Instagram with a simple caption, "Living our best lives with my brilliant friend Tommy. This view never gets old." Within hours, that single photo had traveled back to my hometown like wildfire. Celesta had mutual friends with people I'd grown up with. The image got shared, screenshotted, and dissected across multiple social media platforms. I didn't know about the explosion until Adrian showed me his phone the next morning. "Your family's been busy," he said, scrolling through screenshots a mutual friend had sent him. The family group chat, the same one I'd left 18 months ago, had erupted overnight. Someone had added me back without my knowledge, probably hoping I wouldn't notice the message history. Christopher. Is this really Tommy's house? This has to be fake. Mary. I reverse searched the image. It's real. That's a $10 million property in Malibu. Lee. Wait, what? Our Tommy lives in a mansion? How is this possible? Mary. She's been hiding this from us. Family doesn't keep secrets like this. Christopher. We need to reach out. She's obviously doing well and should be helping family. Lee. OMG, this is so unfair. I'm struggling with my content creation business, and she's living like a celebrity. Mary. I'm calling her right now. This is ridiculous. The voicemail arrived at 6 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. their time, which meant Mary had been awake all night planning her approach. Tommy, sweetheart, it's Mom. She'd never called herself Mom before. We saw the photos from your party. We're so proud of how well you're doing. You look absolutely radiant, and that house is just stunning. We've been thinking about you so much lately, and we really should talk. There are some family investment opportunities we'd love to discuss with you. Call me back, honey. We miss you. The text messages started immediately after. Lee. OMG sis, your house is goals. We need to discuss some opportunities. I have this amazing business plan that could benefit the whole family. Christopher. Tommy, impressive place. We should talk about family financial planning. Your success could really help secure everyone's future. Mary. Sweetheart, I know we haven't talked in a while, but family is family. We need to have a serious conversation about shared responsibilities. I screenshotted everything, my hands shaking with rage. 18 months of complete silence. Not one birthday call, not one holiday text. Not one inquiry about my well-being, but one photo of wealth, and suddenly I was sweetheart and sis again. Suddenly they missed me. Suddenly they were proud. The pattern was identical to 8 years of Sunday dinners just scaled up. They'd ignored my $40,000 promotion, but celebrated Lee's community college enrollment. Now they'd ignored my entire life transformation, but fixated on my $10 million villa. Adrian watched me pace the kitchen, phone buzzing with increasingly desperate messages. "They want money," I said flatly. "How can you be sure?" I showed him the screenshots. Investment opportunities, financial planning, shared responsibilities. This is their language for give us money. "What are you going to do?" I looked out at the ocean, my sanctuary, my fortress. For 18 months, I'd lived in peace. But peace, I realized, was just the calm before the storm. "I'm going to let them come," I said quietly. "And then I'm going to show them exactly what they lost when they let me walk away." They arrived on a Thursday morning without warning, rental car pulling into my circular driveway like they owned the place. I watched from my kitchen window as Mary, Christopher, and Lee climbed out with suitcases, actual luggage, as if they were planning an extended stay. I'd been expecting this moment for 3 days, ever since the photo went viral. My phone had been buzzing nonstop with increasingly desperate messages. When I didn't respond, they'd escalated to the nuclear option, showing up uninvited. The doorbell rang at exactly 10 a.m. I let it ring 3 times before answering, my phone already recording audio in my pocket. "Surprise!" Mary squealed, arms spread wide like we were long-lost friends. "We decided to come see your beautiful new home in person." Christopher stood behind her, eyes scanning my foyer with undisguised calculation. The marble floors, crystal chandelier, and sweeping staircase were clearly being appraised in real time. Lee pushed past both of them, phone already out, filming everything. "This is insane, Tommy. I'm literally getting content gold right now. My followers are going to die when they see this place." "You can't film in my house," I said calmly. "Oh, come on, don't be stingy. This could go viral. Think of the exposure for both of us." I held out my hand. "Phone, now, or you leave immediately." The shift in atmosphere was instant. Mary's smile faltered. Christopher stepped forward protectively. Lee clutched her phone tighter. "Tommy, honey, we're family," Mary said, her voice taking on that familiar, manipulative sweetness. "We drove all this way to see you. Surely you can be a little more welcoming." "You drove all this way uninvited," I corrected, "and you brought luggage." "Well, we thought we might stay a few days. This house is so big and you're here all alone. Families should share family wealth." There it was. The entitlement laid bare within 5 minutes of arrival. "This isn't family wealth," I said quietly. "This is my wealth, and you're about to learn the difference." Christopher cleared his throat. "Tommy, we need to talk. Lee has an incredible business opportunity, but she needs some startup capital. $85,000. It's a sure thing." $85,000, I repeated. "It's nothing to you now," Lee jumped in. "I mean, look at this place. You're obviously loaded, and I'm family. I helped raise you." "You helped raise me?" I almost laughed. "Lee, you're 7 years younger than me. I helped raise you." Mary stepped closer, her mask slipping. "Tommy, you've been selfish long enough. You disappeared for 18 months without a word. You've been living like a queen while your family struggles. That's not how family works." "You're right," I said, walking to my kitchen island where I'd prepared for this exact conversation. "That's not how family works. But you're not my family. You're strangers who happen to share my DNA." I pulled out a thick manila folder and set it on the counter. Before we continue this conversation, there are some documents you need to see." Christopher's eyes narrowed. "What kind of documents?" "The kind that explain why your $85,000 request is legally impossible to fulfill." The silence stretched for 10 seconds. Then Mary's voice turned sharp and dangerous. "What do you mean, legally impossible?" I smiled for the first time since they'd arrived. "I mean, I've spent 18 months building something you can't touch, can't claim, and can't manipulate. Welcome to my fortress." I opened the manila folder with the precision of a surgeon. Inside were 3 smaller folders, each labeled and color-coded. This wasn't emotion. This was data analysis at its finest. "Folder 1, I announced, sliding the first across my kitchen island. "Financial exploitation documentation, 8 years of receipts, bank statements, and loan records." Mary reached for it hesitantly. Christopher peered over her shoulder. Lee continued filming until I gave her a look that could freeze lava. $47,000 in unpaid loans, I continued. "But that's just the beginning. When I factored in groceries, gas, time, and opportunity costs, the total exploitation comes to $73,000. "Exploitation?" Christopher sputtered. "That's family helping family." "Family helping family is reciprocal," I replied. "This was a one-way extraction system. I have documentation proving that in 8 years, you never once offered to split a grocery bill, pay for gas, or contribute to any expense I covered." Mary was flipping through bank statements, her face growing paler with each page. "You kept records of everything?" "I'm a data architect, Mary. I keep records of everything." I opened folder 2. Communication patterns analysis, screenshots of every ignored achievement, every dismissed milestone, every time my success was minimized while Lee's mediocrity was celebrated. The evidence was devastating. Screenshots of my promotion announcements met with silence, followed immediately by enthusiastic responses to Lee's mundane updates. The pattern was undeniable across years of data. "This is ridiculous," Lee snapped. "You can't quantify family relationships." "Actually, I can, and I did." I pulled out a graph. "This chart shows response times to my messages versus yours. When you needed money, average response time was 12 minutes. When I shared achievements, average response time was 14 hours. When I needed support, 60% of messages received no response at all." Christopher was studying the documents with growing alarm. "Tommy, this seems excessive." "What's excessive," I interrupted, "is treating someone like an ATM for 8 years, then showing up uninvited demanding $85,000 after 18 months of silence." I opened the 3rd folder, legal documentation. "This house is held in an irrevocable trust. I am the beneficiary, but I cannot sell it, mortgage it, or use it as collateral for loans. Even if I wanted to give you money, which I don't, this asset is legally untouchable." Mary's voice turned shrill. "You planned this. You deliberately made it so you couldn't help family." "I made it so family couldn't exploit me," I corrected. "There's a difference." "You can't do this to family," Mary shouted. "You're right," I said calmly. "I can't do this to family. But I can do this to strangers who happen to share my DNA." The silence was deafening. Then Christopher tried a different approach. "Tommy, we raised you. We gave you a home, food, education." "You gave me obligations." I cut him off. "You gave me a role as the family servant. You gave me 8 years of being taken for granted. But you never gave me respect, appreciation, or genuine love." I pulled out my phone and stopped the recording that had been running since they arrived. "This entire conversation has been recorded. You've admitted on tape that you came here specifically to demand money. You've confirmed that you view this house as family wealth you're entitled to access." Mary's face went white. "You recorded us." "I documented everything." "Just like I always do." I walked to my front door and opened it. "Here's your choice. You leave now, delete any photos or videos you took of my property, and never contact me again. Or I file harassment charges and seek a restraining order." "You wouldn't," Lee whispered. I held up a thick legal document. "Restraining order paperwork already prepared. My attorney is on speed dial. Test me." Christopher grabbed Mary's arm. "We should go." "This isn't over," Mary hissed as they gathered their luggage. "Yes, it is," I replied. "I've documented every dollar, every manipulation, every time you used my competence against me. I have legal protection you can't breach and evidence you can't dispute. This is over." As their rental car disappeared down my driveway, I felt something I'd never experienced before: complete victory. Not just winning an argument, but systematically dismantling 8 years of exploitation with precision and proof. Tell me in the comments, was Tommy's response justified, or should family always forgive family? Your answer might surprise you. The silence after their departure was profound, not the hollow silence of being ignored, but the peaceful silence of a storm finally passing. I stood on my deck, watching the Pacific waves crash against the cliffs, and felt something I'd never experienced before: complete freedom. They never contacted me again. The legal documentation had done its job. They understood that any further communication would result in harassment charges. My fortress had held perfectly. 3 months later, Adrian and I were hosting a dinner party for my real family. Celesta flew in from New York. My Cloud Vault colleagues brought their partners. My neighbors, who'd become genuine friends, joined us on the deck as the sun set over Malibu. To Tommy, Adrian raised his glass, who taught us all that boundaries aren't walls, they're foundations. Everyone laughed and clinked glasses. These people celebrated my achievements without expecting payment. They supported my dreams without demanding sacrifice. They loved me without conditions or invoices. Celesta pulled me aside during dessert. "I'm sorry my photo caused all that drama." "Don't be," I said. "It forced a confrontation that needed to happen. They showed their true colors, and I showed mine." "Any regrets?" I looked around at my chosen family, laughing and sharing stories on my deck. None. I spent 8 years being invisible to people who only saw me as a resource. Now I'm surrounded by people who see me as a person. The transformation was complete. The scared, accommodating girl who cooked Sunday dinners for people who ignored her achievements was gone. In her place stood a woman who'd built an empire of respect, success, and genuine relationships. My phone buzzed with a work email, another company wanting to hire me for cybersecurity consulting. My reputation in the industry was growing. My bank account was thriving. My relationships were healthy and reciprocal. But most importantly, I was no longer anyone's victim. 6 months ago, I'd been the family scapegoat, the reliable ATM, the invisible servant. Tonight, I was the architect of my own destiny, surrounded by people who valued me for who I was, not what I could provide. Sometimes the family you choose is worth more than the family you're born into, and sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be anyone's victim ever again. I'd built more than a $10 million villa in Malibu. I'd built a life where my worth wasn't measured in dollars given or services rendered, but in the respect I commanded and the love I freely chose to share. The girl who used to clean up mashed potatoes while her family celebrated someone else's mediocrity was gone forever. In her place stood a woman who would never again mistake exploitation for love or obligation for family. And that transformation was worth more than any amount of money they could have ever asked for.